This is what stress does to your body. Just ask Jenny. You see, Jenny's head was pounding. The day had been relentless. Work stress, a sink full of dishes, laundry still waiting to be folded, and then there was her phone, buzzing, glowing, demanding, emails from work, news notifications of another crisis, text messages waiting for a reply. It was never ending. And now this. She had just stepped into the kitchen for 2 minutes, hoping for a moment to breathe, when she heard the splash, then another, and another. Jenny rushed to the bathroom, and there, standing by the sink, was Lily, her 3-year-old daughter, completely drenched. Water dripping from the counter. The floor was a puddle, and in Lily's tiny hands was Teddy. "Lily, what are you doing?" "I washed Teddy, Mama." Jenny snapped. "Look at the mess you've made. What have you done? How silly. You've been very bad." Lily flinched. Her smile faded. Her little shoulders slumped, and she looked down at Teddy, as if realizing for the first time that maybe she had done something wrong, but she hadn't meant to. Jenny paused for a second. She suddenly saw the scene differently, not through the lens of her frustration, but through Lily's eyes. Her little girl hadn't been trying to make a mess. She had been trying to be kind, trying to take care of Teddy, just like Jenny took care of her. And now, here she was, being scolded for it. The guilt hit Jenny like a tsunami. Now, tell me, in all honesty, when was the last time you overreacted?
There's blood everywhere. The bunk beds were a terrible idea. Why did you let us do that? It's so bad!
Whoa.
But in hindsight, realized that you had overdone it. That the other person on the receiving end didn't really deserve your wrath.
It is absolutely 150% your fault.
Please don't cry like that. Please don't, Brennan.
Well, I might have a small explanation as to why you seem to have become a lot more irritable, easily annoyed, and sick of everything. You're stressed. Chronically stressed. You shouted at your poor dog, who didn't know any better. You were stressed. You honked your horn at the learner driver. Yes, a learner driver. You were stressed. You snapped at the delivery driver for taking too long. You were stressed. See, sometimes it's hard. Life can be hard. And in today's world, you have a million stressors. Small things seem to push you off the edge so easily. In today's fast-paced world, stress has become an unavoidable part of life. Deadlines, financial pressures, mortgage payments, rent, personal conflicts, and global uncertainties seem to just keep our stress levels continuously high. Now, while short-term stress can be beneficial, helping us react quickly in dangerous situations, chronic stress can actually wreak havoc on our bodies. The question is, are we slowly destroying ourselves with chronic stress? Was our body even designed to handle this amount of stress day in, day out? Life in today's modern world is very, very different to that of, say, a Roman or a hunter-gatherer. Our ancestors faced real immediate threats, hunting for food, surviving harsh winters, avoiding wild predators. Their stress came in short, intense bursts. Run from the lion, fight off an invader, gather enough food before the season changed. Then once the threat was gone, their bodies could rest, reset, and recover. But today, the stress seems to never stop. Jenny's ancestors had fought tigers and famine. She was fighting never-ending deadlines and an inbox full of unread messages. Somehow it didn't seem all that different, except they got breaks. She didn't. The stress was constant. Jenny's mind raced with everything she had to do. Laundry, bills, grocery shopping, the email her boss was waiting for. The world expected her to juggle it all: a career, a home, a child, a marriage, while also looking put together, staying healthy, and keeping a smile on her face. No wonder she snapped. She wasn't running from lions, but she was running from task to task, responsibility to responsibility, expectation to expectation, and she was exhausted. Modern life was supposed to be easier, she thought. Technology had made things faster, more efficient. There was no need to hunt for food or build shelter with bare hands. But with every advancement seemed to come a new burden. For example, take the food which is now delivered right to your door, but now you stress about eating clean, going organic, or the delivery driver being able to even find your home. Take jobs that don't require strenuous physical work in the field, but now you sit at a desk juggling 1,000 things. What about transport? We don't have to travel for miles to see people anymore, but now we're expected to respond instantly, be available 24/7, always connected. Jenny thought about how her ancestors probably spent long evenings around the fire, telling stories, watching the stars. There was no phone buzzing, no work notifications, no pressure to do it all. They had stress, but they also had rest. Chronically stressed, sleep-deprived, tired and exhausted, low on energy, and lacking any real motivation. This is the story of millions of people today. So what causes chronic stress? Okay, let's go into the sciencey part a little more. Chronic stress, in really simple terms, is a state of too much cortisol for a sustained period of time. This hormone plays a big role in the body's stress response. And what controls their activation, you might ask? Well, cortisol is released into the circulation in response to psychological stress by the HPA axis. Cortisol is released from your adrenal glands to deal with stressors. In other words, anything that appears as threatening to you or your body. This could vary from survival, starvation, harm, to uncertainty or social stresses, such as giving a public speech or meeting your boss or even a job interview. Now, in such acute scenarios or acute stressors, stress can be a good thing because it helps prepare your body to deal with that particular stressor. Whilst our ancestors may have had to deal with a tiger attack, you may be having to deal with running to your departure gate to not miss your flight. In both of these situations, cortisol helps divert energy towards crucial organs, including your brain, so that you can stay alert, hyper-aware, and prepared toward taking emergency measures. And it shuts down non-essential processes that you don't need in the moment, such as digestion and reproduction. This helps you focus on the situation at hand. Now, if cortisol is such a good thing in the short term and makes you more alert and ready to tackle situations, then why not try to keep our cortisol levels high constantly? Well, the answer is that high cortisol levels in the long term can be detrimental. Dampening down what you might call the non-essential processes for long periods of time starts to become an issue. For example, in the short term, cortisol raises blood sugar levels to make this available for your brain in order to handle a crisis. But long term, the persistently high sugar levels may lead to an increased insulin resistance and potential diabetes risk. In the long term, high cortisol levels can also impair memory, reproduction, and growth. It can lead to slowed wound healing and a reduced ability to repair. It can even impair digestive function. Studies suggest that psychological stress may cause increased GI permeability in the intestines. Repeated stress exposure has even been linked to irritable bowel syndrome.
IBS,
You be what?
irritable bowel syndrome. Is there a men's room down here?
Oh, come on. You shouldn't be using the men's room now.
Or a ladies' room? Quickly, IBS.
In this study, it was found that individuals with IBS showed an elevated cortisol/DHEA ratio after awakening compared with individuals without IBS, and the elevated ratio peaked under the prolonged stress. The study suggested that the cortisol effect is dominant in individuals with IBS under prolonged stress. There is even a unique hormonal disorder called Cushing's syndrome, which can arise when the body has too much cortisol for a very long period of time. People with Cushing's syndrome can experience things like rapid weight gain, high blood pressure, weak muscles and fragile bones, severe fatigue, thinning skin and easy bruising, frequent infections, mood swings, anxiety, and even depression. So, we've already mentioned how cortisol plays a crucial role in regulating our body's response to stress. The problem is that when it remains elevated for too long, it can weaken the immune system's response, making us more vulnerable to infections, chronic illnesses, and even autoimmune diseases. Now let's go through some of these so you can get a better understanding of how this can potentially occur. Number 1, suppression of white blood cells. White blood cells, as you may know, are the body's frontline defense against infections. Chronic cortisol exposure reduces the production and function of white blood cells, making it harder for the immune system to fight bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens. Number 2, chronic inflammation and autoimmune diseases. Cortisol actually has anti-inflammatory properties, helping the body recover from injuries and infections. But see, the thing is, prolonged high cortisol disrupts this balance, leading to chronic inflammation, a major factor in autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and multiple sclerosis. Studies show that long-term stress leads to increased levels of inflammatory cytokines. This overactive inflammatory response can mistakenly attack healthy tissues, increasing the risk of autoimmune conditions. Number 3, possible reduced antibody production. Antibodies are essential for recognizing and neutralizing harmful pathogens. With lower antibody production, the body struggles to develop immunity after infections or vaccinations. A meta-analysis of 13 studies concluded that the effect of stress on antibody responses to influenza virus vaccination corresponded to adequate antibody responses among 41% of stressed individuals versus 59% of less stressed individuals, with similar effects among older and younger adults. And number 4, possible increased susceptibility to cancer. A properly functioning immune system helps detect and eliminate abnormal cells before they turn into cancer. It appears that psychological stressors negatively affect natural killer cells, and so prolonged stress can lead to significant decreases in natural killer cell number and function. In a nutshell, your body is designed to handle short-term stress, but it does not seem to do too well with constant exposure to high cortisol levels. Okay, so what's the point of all this? Yes, chronic stress seems to be bad for us. Okay, we get it. You're probably thinking, great information. Now what? What's next? Give me something that's actionable. Okay, well, here we go. If you're getting less than 7 hours of sleep per night, that's where I would start. Try to aim for at least 8 hours of quality sleep per night. Second thing, if you're not meditating, go try some yoga and mindfulness. Try to relax. Why? because studies show that mindfulness and meditation can help lower cortisol levels. Third, you've probably heard it before a million times, exercise. Get yourself up and go for a walk or even a jog. Why? Well, moderate exercise reduces stress hormones and enhances immune response. Next thing, eat good, because anti-inflammatory foods like leafy greens, fatty fish, nuts, and probiotics can support gut health. And finally, if you haven't seen your friends in a while, schedule some downtime with them, because apparently, supportive relationships help buffer the negative effects of stress and help regulate cortisol levels. So go out, see your loved ones, and try to hang out with some friends.